Alright, so this is my video response to the 2020 segment called My Secret Self, which is a basically Barbara Walters interviewing transgendered children and their parents. So basically my objective for this video is to just kind of capture my initial reaction to this segment and also just kind of give in my little bit of input. So here we go. This child is 6 and is the youngest documented case of women transgendered life. And a couple things that I want to point out here is that in the intro, the mother of Jazz, I really like how she puts it. A phase is a phase. It ends. This is getting stronger, and I think that's really important to start out with, because what these parents have experienced is something that isn't just going away. You know, it's a continuous thing, and it's a very good preface to it. And I love how Barbara Walters introduces this family, you know, and said, you know, they could be your neighbors. And I like how Barbara Walters expressed this, because it kind of brings it more close to home. You know, these people aren't freaks; they're you know, just your neighbors. I like the Barbara Walters question of do you mourn the loss of a son? And the mother said, I mourn the loss of the idea of my son. And I think this is really important because, you know, I mean, they're going against the grain here. They're going against the notion of what society would categorize as a boy and what society would categorize as a girl, and what is expected of them. This child, Jazz, is getting a great deal of acceptance early on from the parents, and they seem to have pretty good counsel in support of their daughter's transgenderedness early on from the doctors. Got an early name for it, you know, and that helps. And it's also good that as a young child that they're able to try and teach the other children around that, hey, you know, this is the way Jazz is. And so it just has a really good positive reaction to this story. The parents are very different in this case. They are, to me, they appear to be more, again, middle class, but maybe right middle class, if not lower middle. And what made this one really difficult to view was the part is the 2.5 Richard wanting to remove his own penis. That's amazingly scary point right there. And I mean, there's already that hatred of this child's body, you know, self-hatred of this child's body. The physician in this one, the pediatrician, seemed to be a bit clueless, and just pawned it off as, you know, we'll just teach him to be a boy. This child is already displaying a lot of behaviors to have a lot of self-loathing. I don't think teaching a child is the idea. I think that was kind of I'm just going to tell these parents what they want to hear. What was the most difficult point in this story was, 6 years old, this child didn't want to live, wanted to die and didn't want to exist. And, this child, Riley, obviously understands that it would be very painful for, it would be very painful for her mother, because, just saying, if I died, you would be sad, but if I never existed, you would never know. And that's a pretty tough thing to hear from anyone. Especially hearing from your child. And this child already knows that there's some obvious strain going on in the family. Daddy's not accepting of this. Daddy doesn't like the girl time, and it's just really difficult for the father, Neil, to accept. And I think that's really good that the principal just like, okay, well, why don't you let your child, come as a girl? And I think that was good that the school principal was open enough to, finally point these parents in the direction of a gender specialist. It was just really good for them to have a name, association of what this is, that they weren't making this up. The plans concerning Riley's puberty, it's closer to them than it was in the case of Jazz. And, you can tell that was just a heavy thought. And you can tell that Riley is just torn inside, and it's just written all over that child's face. You can't even really put it to words. It's just, like I said, to them, they just feel like they're pretty late in the game, whereas Jazz's family is just trying to put out fires before they burn their child, as Jazz's mother stated. Jeremy Singer is a teenager at this point and already going through the hormonal treatments, and I like how this particular one, even though there wasn't more of a personal story behind this one, as deep as the other two, and I find it more informative about the hormonal treatments that these children go through concerning the hormonal transition. And it's very informative. It was just kind of collected all in together. But even though greatly abbreviated, it was still pretty informative. I like how there was a lot of information and about the support groups that there are, about the different, all these different people coming together for support on the internet and having the conferences and whatnot, and just thought that was a really good way to wrap it up. But I do like the perspective of the Jennings family, about how it's sad how people can't get over their own bigoted selves to accept their own children. And I like how she just said, look into your child's heart and let them lead the way. And I thought that was pretty profound and just simple statement.